Hey, welcome to Uncle Joe's Garage, outfitted by California Car Cover. Extra special guest in the garage today, John Fogerty, has joined us. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're used to working in garages, aren't you? I mean, you even named an album after one of them. Or wasn't Cosmo's Factory really a garage? Was it just
well, that was actually a shack out in back of Doug's house, the original factory. We just called it. It was like going to the plant every day, to work. We were going to the factory. And eventually we had our own place that you see on the cover of Cosmo's Factory, that a little bit grander digs, you might say.
Grander.
Yeah.
Okay. Brand new book, Fortunate Son, by John Fogerty. Extremely well written, and as I would expect from you, but still, it's just amazing, the stuff that's in here. And I have to thank you for revealing so many things along the way. There's all kinds of stories. The book is Fortunate Son. All kinds of stories, things that I just go nuts over. You had told us once about Green River was actually after a river in Patua River, something like that.
Northern California.
But the
Puda
title,
Creek.
what is it?
Puda Creek.
Puda Creek.
Yeah.
Almost rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
But you had said earlier in the book, you relate how you love going to soda fountains, and Green River was the name of one of the syrups.
That's right.
That's amazing. And you carried that along for how long before you wrote the song?
Well, I got the idea when I was 8. I was sitting at there was a little pharmacy, little drugstore up at the end of my street, and they had a little soda fountain in there. I mean, eventually, when I got in high school, a lot of my high school friends would come over there and have a sandwich and a cherry Coke or whatever, you know. Yeah. But one of the fizzy drinks they could make for you was Green River, and they had a little picture, kind of, to me, now looking back, it looked kind of like the label on Sun Records. But it was called Green River, and I just stared at that thing. I was like 8. I said, I got to save that. And I wasn't really sure why, a song title or what, because I was only 8. I wasn't playing yet, but I think I was thinking about songs.
The book is Fortunate Son by John Fogerty. I'll just put it down here so I don't drop it at this point. You mentioned in there, and it's something I'm sure thousands of guys our age went through, the business racket of delivering newspapers, where you have 35 people. You had 35 people. I think I had 3 dozen in my list, and then they send you extra papers. You have to pay for them, which is really a lot like the record company turned out to be as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, but unfortunately, I didn't figure out how I could get paid back from a record company that way. It was kind of you're a little kid, and it just kept happening. I had 35 customers, and I could go to their house at the end of each month and get, we call it collecting.
Yep.
And we had a little book that we would tear off, a little stub that proved that they had paid whatever the monthly rate was. But I kept getting extra papers in my pile. Sometimes there'd be 40. And it would just go on, and I'd have to call up. And a kid, it's hard to get a phone, call a number, and I want to report the overage, and then they'd stop. But whatever days had gone by with the extra papers, I was obligated to pay for those papers.
Yep, same exact
thing. And it kept happening over and over and over. So, as I got older, I thought, I think they were doing that on purpose.
Another one of the scams.
Yeah.
We are in the garage here. One of the traditional things we talk about in the garage as you were growing up in California. Do you remember what your first car was?
48 Ford, fastback.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was a really great car.
If you had that today, you know how much it would be worth?
Well, I paid $100 for it. And it was in perfect shape. It really was a little old lady whose husband had died, many years before. It was his car. When I bought it, it was 1961 or 2. I was just before 17, I think, years old. Anyhow, everything was perfect. There was a little wear on the upholstery, but it wasn't dingy. It was like it was brand new. And the engine was everything was great. And then I decided, I wanted to learn how cars work and turn it into a hot rod, kind of like this place. Yeah. But I didn't have anybody to show me what was going on, so I just started taking things apart. And I really ruined that car.
It's a wonder you survived, actually, come down to it. But at least that car was big enough to haul an amplifier and a guitar around in.
Yes, absolutely.
was
And
running.
a few of my friends, you know.
You had you mentioned about the excellent chapter in here about the artists that inspired you early on, and you had mentioned Stephen Foster to me years ago, and you give him great props in this. And many of your songs feature that Stephen Foster approach to writing, and I'm sure the chord structures and that kind of stuff. You also mentioned some like Little Richard, who was an influence on you in singing for sure, and Bo Diddley. And I loved your quote in there. You said about if it was a darker song you're working on, you would pass through the Bo Diddley doors. Isn't that what you called it?
Yeah, to get into that room where all the voodoo stuff, the mojo,
Yeah.
you know, all that mumbo jumbo stuff, I had to go in through Bo Diddley's door.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Did you ever meet Bo?
Yes, I actually toured with him as Creedence. Probably that would be 71, and he was great. He was, you know, he'd go out on stage and just really shake it up. He had a hit in the late 60s. I think it was called "Baby I Love You," and had a girl singer with him. I don't know if that was his significant other or not, but they would sing a few songs together. The one song that had been a hit featured a girl singing with him, and this was her, of course. So he would do that whole thing, you know, and the Bo Diddley kind of guitar. Even has a beat named after him.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And that's, you've mentioned in the book that a lot of people try to play it, but you don't have enough soul. You can't get it across.
Whatever it is, I've never heard any other record come close to the original song that's called Bo Diddley. You know, had that, and he had many songs with that beat. The only one I would actually say way back in the day, there was a song called Willie and the Hand Jive by Johnny Otis.
Johnny Otis, yeah.
And that was pretty doggone spot on. But other than that one, no, I've never heard. I've heard bands doing the beat, but it just doesn't sound like Bo Diddley.
I've heard that Johnny Otis wrote that song just a couple blocks away from where we're at now.
Really?
So it's probably a haunted corner someplace down the way. You're about to do something. I'm going to jump around a little bit here. You're about to do something that some bands have done before. And the guys from Def Leppard told me it was the smartest thing they ever did in their life. You're going to Las Vegas and you're going to do a residency for a number in January. You already know this, don't you?
Yes.
I'm not breaking the news.
Nope.
January 8th, you're starting a Las Vegas residency. And the point they were making was the hardest thing about your job is traveling, moving from place to place. And you're in some place for a few nights where the equipment is set up the same, everything is so relaxed. How long did you have to think about doing this when they came up with that?
About that long. You know, it's for years and years. I think most rock and rollers kind of have a jaded eye looking at Vegas as a place to perform. We all go there, Sin City, of course, but to perform, you know, it's always been kind of the king of shtick, you might call it. But I get to go there and actually just play my rock and roll. You know, pretty pure, without all the dancing girls and all that. By the way, you know, January 8th is Elvis's birthday.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go.
Yes.
That would be quite appropriate then if that was. I was just going to mention the USA Today Life section, big article comes out this day, and they're talking about you going there, and they refer to Taylor Swift, which I never even thought about you and Taylor Swift being any similarities on stage. Was that a stretch on their part? You're not going to be dancing. You're not going to be dancing, are you, John? Come on.
No.
Okay.
I do really love Taylor Swift, and I have a little teenage girl, who also loves Taylor. So we listen to her a lot, almost exclusively, actually, when my daughter is in the car. And of course, I've gone to see Taylor's show, and her recent show, which is from the album 1989.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, you know, he's got dancers and a lot of effects and all that. Now, I was just making the point that there's a lot of choreography, dancing boys and girls, and I probably won't have that in my show.
Yeah. Another distinctive thing that I've loved about you for all these years is the plaid shirts, and it looks like a plaid Les Paul there as well. It's kind of been your signature. You've been wearing plaid for a long time, haven't you?
I think since I was born, actually, yeah. It's been a long time. And I didn't really know it was a thing until about halfway through Creedence's career. I just was wearing what came naturally, and then people started to notice plaid shirts. I think, as a matter of fact, I think I was in my room in a hotel in England, London probably, and my suitcase was open. But to me, it was just, my wardrobe, and a bunch of shirts folded inside. But the writer took note. He said, "A lot of plaid there, mate." So, yeah, whatever.
John Fogerty, you're a big baseball fan.
Yes, sir.
I'm not springing that on you. It's something the whole world knows.
Yep.
Playoffs are going on right now?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. You got any favorites?
Well, who I think will probably, make a good showing would be the Cardinals. I have to say, though, being a guy, well, number one, my dear wife is from Indiana, and in fact, when we were courting, we would go up to Chicago a lot.
Yeah.
Went to quite a few Cub games. So in my heart of hearts, I'm kind of really hoping that the Cubs do well here in the playoffs. They've gotten really good. People are surprised. They think it's some kind of a fluke, but it's not. They've gotten really good.
I grew up back there.
Oh, yeah.
And my grandfather went to his grave waiting for the Cubs to do something, so I hope this is the year for him.
About 100 years, wasn't it? Yeah.
It took a while. It took a while. You have this incredible gift of writing songs that reach inside people and their lives. You've covered all of us. Two in particular that just almost bring me to tears. Someday Never Comes and Deja Vu All Over Again. And the gift to write those, and I know how hard you work on making sure the words and all that stuff are right, that's a mind-boggling gift. How the hell did you sit down and write this book? How long did it take you? What inspired you to say, I got to reveal all of this stuff? And it's so natural. It's like a conversation. And you're giving insight into things that all of us have gone through, and you're also explaining your music and how you deal with it and all that. It's a beautiful work. Did you have to be talked into that for a long time by somebody, Julie?
There's a beautiful little girl sitting right over there.
Yeah.
A beautiful little blonde lady. And really, I think probably the book wouldn't have been written unless Julie had kind of prompted me to do it. And I'm really glad that she did. I do know, I have the sense that now that it's done, now was the right time for this, because if I'd written this 20 years ago when I was all angry and still caught up in all this stuff, it would have had a completely different tone. And I'm sure I wouldn't have liked that book at all. Whereas this is, it really reflects how I am now, who I am. A lot of stuff, like so many of us in show business, a lot of stuff has happened, but I've managed to put it all in perspective. I mean, basically, if I can say it in just a small phrase, the most important thing in life is love, finding love. Yeah. And I found love. And I realize that that's the most valuable thing that, for me, that I desire, and I dare say probably for everybody in the world. So worrying over all the things that went wrong that have something to do with material things, while yes they are important, it's not the end of the world for me, because I have what is really important. Every day when I wake up, I can look at her and realize that I'm a winner. I do have it. Everything's okay. So with that, with that in my heart, in my mind, I realized I could now talk about these things and not just be all caught up in anger. I can kind of talk about them at least with some perspective.
It's a great book, Fortunate Son. John Fogerty, thank you so much for being part of the garage here.
Thanks, Joe.
Come back anytime.
You bet.
There's no oil on the floor, I'll guarantee that.
All right.
Someday Never Comes. We play that here, and I tear up every time I
Really,
play
yeah?
it. Yeah. Hey, I know that you, yes you, haven't been in the Uncle Joe's Garage yet, but I got some good news. We have created a mobile version of the Uncle Joe's Garage, thanks to our friends at Mike Thompson RV Superstores. Like they say, don't miss a moment, and don't miss the mobile Uncle Joe's Garage coming to location near you.